Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
Welcome to Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life. As always, I'm here with my friend Rifle. Rifle, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Danny. How about yourself?
Doing great, trying to stay out of the cold. It's quite chilly up here in New Jersey, but it's winter.
It's winter, yeah.
What can we expect?
Right.
So in this episode, everyone, we are going to go over the first three weeks of the Autumn Nations Series. And what the first 3 weeks it is. And as we've mentioned before, Rifle, this series of games is not necessarily a tournament, so there's no trophy, there's no point system or anything like that. Something that we had mentioned in our previous episode, reviewing the schedule of the Autumn Nation Series. This series is a set of games that happen obviously every year if you're new to rugby or the sport of rugby in the month of November. That's why it's called Autumn Nation Series, because it's autumn here in the Northern Hemisphere. And these games are very important for the seeding, world rankings. And as you've mentioned before, Rifle, that sweet spot is you want to be in the top 6 of the world rankings. And can you just explain quickly why that is so?
Sure, yeah. They've changed this next Rugby World Cup, which is 2027 in Australia. They've added more countries to the tournament. So previously you would have Pool A, B, C, and D. And then within those pools, people would play each other. Now they've added 2 more. So you have more countries that can participate in the Rugby World Cup now. So what that does is you have A, B, C, D, E, F. So you want to be in the top 6, because as soon as you go below 6, you are not rated number 1 in that pool anymore. So what could happen now is your chances of playing 2 of the top tier nations in the world just becomes much greater. So if you are ranked within the first 6, you will be Pool A number 1, Pool B number 1, Pool C number 1, and so on and so forth until the end. But if you are number 7, you can come into a pool, and now your first game could be against, a number 1 nation, number 2 or 3, and then after that game, you have to play maybe number 4 or 5. So it just makes your chance of going through the first knockout rounds or the preliminary games to get to the knockout rounds, the quarters, the semis, the finals, it makes it so much more difficult. So you want to be at least in the top 6, because then you would be the first position in whatever pool you get nominated in. I don't know if I explained that well, but does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, yeah.
And like you had just mentioned, they have expanded the World Cup from 20 teams to 24 teams now. So yeah, it's World Cup, Rugby World Cup is getting bigger. And it's like you say, you have more nations coming in. So it makes sense. You want to be in the top 6 to try to avoid playing 2 top tier teams, which it makes it a lot harder coming out of the pool stage and going to the knockout stage. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because we talk about the pool of death, which, if you can remember correctly, in the previous World Cup, South Africa was in the pool of death. And why is it the pool of death? Because it's the hardest group to try and get out of. You have to win so many games against the top teams in the world. So South Africa was in the one pool. Scotland was in the same pool. Ireland was in the same pool. And then you had hard countries like Samoa and so on. So you had to literally play 2 or 3 of the top 5 teams in the world to get through to the next level. So it makes it so that was the pool of death. And now when they're adding teams, no disrespect to non-traditional rugby nations, but if you have a country, for example, let's say Portugal, they play rugby, they're loving the game, they're growing the game. But if you're not in the top 6, you might have to play, maybe South Africa and a country like Japan when they come out. And if you are number 20, 21, or 22 in the world, and you got to play someone in the top 10, maybe 2 of those teams are in your pool, man, it makes it very difficult to go to the next round. So you're getting teams now that are not good, but they've been given this amazing opportunity to play against the absolute best. And it's really, really difficult if you have a team which is ranked in the top 10 and you got to play someone who's number 30. It's a little bit unfair, but that's the price you have to pay if you want to step up your game, to judge yourself how good you are, to see if you're growing, and just be given the opportunity to play in the Rugby World Cup, which is a phenomenal honor.
Yeah, yeah. If it's, I mean, that's pretty much in any sport and in life as well. If you want to get better, you want to work with or play against teams or work with individuals that are better than you at what you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, it makes sense. That's just a general rule of life. If you want to get better, be with people who are better at the thing you're trying to get better at. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
If you're the smartest in the room, your room's too small.
Or you're in the wrong room.
There you go.
So with that, let's get just straight to the first 3 weeks of the Autumn Nation Series. Week 1, really no surprises there, really, in week 1. I guess the game of the week, if you so to say, was New Zealand and Ireland. However, New Zealand took care of business. U.S., what can I say about the U.S.?
Not much now. Let's move on.
Okay. Okay, yes, let's just move on from that game. Again, South Africa, Japan, another game that was really no contest for South Africa. It's unfortunate. We're going to get into this, but Australia were looking good during the British Irish Lions tour. They had a couple of good games in the Rugby Championship. However, for the Autumn Nations, not so great. I'm not sure. Maybe they have a lot of, because I know you have spoken about this, Rifle. A lot of teams are playing young players that don't have much experience, and a lot of the coaches are doing that in order to get to prepare for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which is going to be played in Australia, so that if coaches need those young players at any time during the World Cup, they have the experience already. So I'm not sure if that's the case for Australia, but unfortunately, Australia doing this series, not looking. They're going back to the old ways of not looking so great.
Yes, unfortunately for them, because it's one thing to have the World Cup in your country. You would like to do well, especially if you're hosting. And at this stage now, we are saying what we did prior to the British and Irish Lions. We were saying, people were talking, and if this is going to be Australia so bad, maybe we have to have the British and Irish Lions literally take on another country or another team or another tour, or do something else, because it's not going to be good if you have 3 just wipeouts and it's a whitewash, and Australia's nowhere. But they did so well against the British and Irish Lions. And then once again, as you said, in the games against South Africa, I mean, they beat South Africa in Ellis Park, which is unheard of, never happened before. They were looking good. and for some other reason now in the Autumn Nations, just not providing good enough games to be able to make a difference on the field.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. I mean, there's another whole, almost 2 years before the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia. Them being the host nation, they have a little under 2 years more to prepare for the World Cup. However, if they continue on this path, it's I don't know, it's not gonna look good for them. So hopefully they could get things right and find the right set of players and perform well in the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which they're hosting. So hopefully they could
Yeah.
perform well.
And just to add to that, currently, as we making this recording, Australia are outside of the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it even so much more difficult for them to to come
Yeah.
back and do really well if they're going to be under the number 6 position where you really want to be. So yeah, they've got to do something drastically to see if they can get that 6 spot back.
Yeah, yeah, they do, because Argentina is currently at number 6,
Yeah.
and we're gonna just look at the rankings in a second here. But yeah, Argentina's at number 6 currently, and we're gonna talk about their last game in a moment here, what a game that was. But for week 2, again, so to speak, I guess the game of the week was France and South Africa, two titans of World Rugby. And wow, I mean, we're actually going to talk specifically about this play in our next episode. We're just going to talk a few things that head coach Rassi from South Africa did, and highlight some things from this game in our next episode. But wow, what a game that was. And South Africa showed why they're number 1 currently in the world. That was an amazing game to watch from them. And then you had Argentina and Wales. Second week, Argentina pulled off the victory. So yeah, and then you had another big game, New Zealand and Scotland. New Zealand again took care of business, 23-17. Scotland is another team that they have their moments of brilliance, and then they, like, for 15-20 minutes, you're like, okay, this is not the same team I've been watching. They just collapse. It's just interesting to see a team such as Scotland that has quite a few very talented players play like that, where again they have moments of brilliance, and then it's like they go on this 15-20 minute playing like the total opposite. Is like, okay, they're just self-destructing, and that's
Yeah.
especially true. And we're going to speak about this game in a moment here in week 3.
They squandered a perfect opportunity to beat New Zealand, which they haven't done
Yeah,
at Murrayfield where they played. I think it's 120 years or something like that. I don't know, but for a long time. And they were in the lead. They were in the front. And absolute brilliant rabbit out of the hat try by Damian McKenzie in the end, scoring that try that he did, and taking the win away from Scotland. Scotland leading, then knocking balls on in just the most terrible position to knock a ball on the attack, things that they just did so poorly, but they had the perfect opportunity and they were looking to break that record. But as you say, in the end, New Zealand just came through and just took it away from them.
yeah, yeah, and it's like they fast forward to week 3, and the matchups in week 3, we have South Africa and Italy. Again, South Africa having some cards, yellow card, I believe they had, and
We had a red card
and
sent off and a yellow card. So at one stage we were playing with 13 men. So yeah, in any
yeah,
case, let's move on. I
okay.
don't want to discuss that.
There's
Goodness
many
me.
other rugby podcasts that have discussed the situation with officiating, so we won't go down that road.
Sure, please no.
And then we had Ireland, Australia. Again, Australia is just struggling. And we had England and New Zealand. England's first win since 2012, I believe I read, against New
2012,
Zealand.
yeah. Yeah.
And in Twickenham, their home field. So, I'm sure that was a great thing to see for the English fans. And it surprised me, Rifle, you had sent a message, uh, giving good thoughts for George. I forget his first name.
I mean, Ford.
Ford. I'm sorry, Ford. And I remember just laughing. I was like, "Wow, Rifle must be in a good mood, complimenting the English player." So I don't know what you were doing at that moment, but
No, I give honor where honor is due. I'm South African and with green and gold in my blood and everything, and we do not like the English. But when they play well, you got to give the man his credit. And for so many years, Ford couldn't play because you had old Farrell
Mhm.
taking the number 10 jersey, and he had to sit on the bench and the sidelines. And when they bring him on and giving him an opportunity, I mean, when New Zealand were leading, and with his drop goals, he was just keeping them in the game. And as you and I have spoken before, if you're the opposite team and the other side just getting 3 points and another 3 points, and the scoreboard is slowly just ticking away 3-6, it's not good for your morale. But if you look at the two drop goals that he put over and the way they played,
Mhm.
my goodness, so yes, no, hats off to him. He did so well, and I'm happy for him. I mean, it's not nice to be good enough to play, but because someone else is there, you got to warm the bench, or you come on the field the last 10 minutes, or But he really kept them in the game. Brilliant drop kicking, brilliant
Yes.
playmaking there. England played very well. They kept their style of play, what they wanted to do together. They didn't deviate. They didn't fall out of the bus when they were behind. They kept playing their system. And, Ford with those drop goals, congratulations to him. So, unfortunately, there's a Northern Hemisphere that beat a Southern Hemisphere team there. That was not good.
Mm.
So Wales also another Northern Hemisphere winning. And then Ireland, another Northern Hemisphere. So it was not a good weekend for us Southerners this past weekend, North versus South. But they deserve the win 100%. So well done to them.
Yes, yes. And again, if you're new to rugby, a drop goal is for us American football fans is like a punter. A punter, the center. Well, there's no center or lineman center, I should say. There is a center position in rugby, but there's no lineman center uh, in rugby. And the punter receives the ball and punts the ball. Same thing in rugby. The player pretty much, that's why it's called a drop goal. They drop the ball in front of them and they kick the ball in between the posts. And it's not an easy thing to do. And it's like you said, Ford's kicking game was amazing against New Zealand. And he made two or three, forget. I think made two
I
drop
don't
goals.
know.
Or was it
I
three?
definitely know two. I don't know if he
Two.
made three, but definitely
Yes,
two
it
that I
was
watched
two.
were just
I
brilliant. Yeah.
watched the game. I don't remember if it was two or three. But needless to say, the ones he made were amazing. And it's just the athleticism that it takes and the practice it takes to make kicks like that. And they went right through the middle. But the ones he made went right through the middle. So amazing kicking game.
And
And
while we're talking about kicks, just quickly, as we've spoken so often before,
mhm,
the kicking game of Ford kept England in the game. South Africa, we played against Italy, and they missed, I believe it was 3 kicks, penalties.
Mm.
And I mean, their kicker doesn't miss. So South Africa was very, very fortunate that he missed 3 kicks. That's 9 points. If he put all his penalties, if he put all his kicks over halftime, we would be behind.
Mm.
And we've only got 14 men, so that's really now you in double danger. But as we've said many times, kicking at this level can make or break a game. So there are two perfect examples: Ford making his drop kicks and Italy missing theirs. Those two teams with their kicks or without their kicks will win and lose.
Yeah, yeah, and we've mentioned this before. The kicking game has really evolved in rugby over the past decade or so, or decade and a half or so. Like you had mentioned before, a lot of teams rely a lot more on the kicking game. And again, you had mentioned, we have spoken about this. The reason for that is, with the rules uh, over the past, years, with the rules changing in rugby, and those rules incentivize um, scoring tries. And what's one way of advancing the ball is kicking. Kicking is probably the fastest way to advance the ball or to gain territory. So with with the rules highlighting scoring, it would make sense that kicking game is incorporated more into the modern game of rugby. And
And then if you come to New Zealand against England, kicking is if you kick for touch, you have to. That's rugby 101. That's after they teach you when you tackle not to use your head. When you have a penalty and you get the ball, you have to. If you're going for touch, you must find touch. New Zealand twice on 2 occasions they had a penalty and they didn't find the touchline. And
mm,
that is absolutely giving a penalty away to England. Once again, kicking cost them a bit of the game there. It's just so vitally important that you do your kicking correct.
yes, yeah. And I believe that was Damian McKenzie, which is very rare for him because his kicking game is very good usually. So yeah, it was a very rare occurrence for New Zealand's kicking game to be so off, being
Yeah.
that the kickers are usually very good and on point. So yeah, good point. And then Scotland and Argentina. What can I say? Scotland, the first half looked like they were going to run away with this game, up 21 nothing. At
21 0.
nil, yes. At halftime, looked like they were going to steamroll Argentina. And again, like I've mentioned a few minutes before, they just find a way to collapse. Argentina comes out fighting in the second half, and in the second half was the score was 33-3. So Argentina outscores Scotland by 30 points in the second half with one of the greatest comebacks in any rugby game. I mean, I haven't been watching rugby for long, but I had messaged you, Rifle, about this game, and you agreed this is probably one of the greatest comebacks in rugby history. Wow.
For
What a
sure.
game
And
for
hats off to
Argentina.
Argentina for not giving up and we spoke about it often. If you go into the change room half time, man, if you 21-0 down half time and you got to come out and Scotland is on a high, it's at home and the people are singing, it's not a fun place to be. Murrayfield 21-0 behind. They came out, they fought, they
Yeah.
did everything they could and they stuck to it. And so very, very grateful for that Southern Hemisphere team that pulled a rabbit out of the hat there and did well for us. But that was a great game in the end. It came down to the wire again. But Argentina just fighting till the very end. It's not over till that whistle blows in the end.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like in American football. Coaches, they coach you. If you don't hear that whistle, you keep playing until that whistle blows.
Yep.
And that's the situation here with Scotland. And I mean, just don't know what happened. That was just a total collapse defensively for Scotland in the second half. And it was unfortunate for Scottish fans, and fortunate for Argentine fans. So yeah, what a game that was. So congratulations to Los Pumas
Yes.
for a huge comeback win. And this game was important because if we see here, Rifle, just speaking briefly on the world rankings, Argentina is at number 6. So there was a scenario where Australia lost, obviously. If Scotland, I believe I read, would have won by 15 points or more, I believe was the margin, they would have obtained the number 6 spot, and Argentina would have fallen. So, you know, being up 21-0 at halftime, again, that's more than 15 points. And if they would have kept that lead, Scotland probably would have been sitting at the number 6 position today. But again, total collapse defensively, and now they sit at number 9. When before the series started, they were at number 8.
Yeah.
And then,
Very, very difficult position to be, knowing that they had to get 16 points, say 21-0 up. So you can just imagine from where they went to number 6 and now where they're now, number 9. And, that's not good for the world rankings and the draw for the Rugby World Cup next month. So very,
no,
very, very hard for them.
yeah, it was a tough loss. Knowing it's like you say, you have I forget the you had mentioned a saying that really touched me, and I can't remember it now. But you have it was something about control. You have destiny in your hands or something like that. Oh man, my mind just went blank. But Scotland had destiny in their hands to win the game and be at that number 6 position then, but they couldn't take advantage of it, unfortunately. And then we have England going from the 6th spot before the Nation Series, or 5th. I'm sorry, 5th. From the 5th spot going to number 3, and then we have France dropping to number 5, and then we have Ireland dropping one spot.
The thing you
So
might be thinking about is when I said, if you play a game and you control the destiny, in other words, if you win this game, then you can move up or you can go to another place. But if you're playing a game, and even if you win, you have to have some other teams beating someone and some other team has to lose for you to go through, then that's not the good place to be. But if you are in control of your destiny, it doesn't matter what the other teams do, it's 100% up to you, then that's a good place to play from. And Scotland had that. If they beat by more than 12 points, if they beat Argentina, it was in their hands. It was their destiny, everything. It didn't matter what South Africa, France, Wales, they could do that for themselves. But, they let it go. I don't know if that's what you're thinking about, what I
yes,
was talking about.
that's exactly what I was thinking about. Thank you for that.
So they had it
Um,
in their hands, but let it slip.
yes, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Your words obviously were much more coherent than mine. So yes, thank you for that. That's exactly what I was thinking about. So yeah, it's fortunate for Scotland. They're sitting at number 9 now. So yeah, so those are the rankings currently after week 3 of the Autumn Nations Series 2025. 2 more weeks to go. Yeah, a lot more interesting games coming up in the next 2 weeks. I know South Africa has Ireland, or Ireland
Yep,
is hosting South Africa, I should say. So
that's
that's going to
right.
be a very interesting game.
Yeah, definitely. Our boogie team, boogeyman team.
Yes, we remember that famous speech from Rossi, giving after the Ireland. If anybody wants to see keeping it real speech, just go to YouTube and put Rossi after Ireland lost, and you'll see a speech that really wake you up.
But very PG rated though.
Yeah, yeah, PG rated. So, Rifle, thank you, sir. Again, I hope everybody enjoyed this overview of the first 3 weeks of the Autumn Nation series. Looking forward to talking about the last 2 weeks of the Autumn Nation series. So, thank you, my friend Rifle.
Very welcome. Thanks for watching, everyone.
So, again, I hope you enjoyed this episode, everyone. And until next time, take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.